well. Much love to you. We hope you are doing well. What a lineup we've got tonight. We have got Roseanne. We've got Cathy O'Brien back. We've got Andrew Gold, who just stopped over for dinner, and I've invited him on the screen. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Cathy.
Yeah,
and Andrew, and Andrew, because you've got to get going soon, I'll let you start.
Yeah, well, I was just saying off screen that I came over, as I do about once a week, for dinner with Sean, and then he just goes, I've got to run and do a live stream and all that. And we went, okay, we've got all our family out in the garden at the moment. And I said, with who? And he goes, Roseanne Barr. I go, bloody hell, Roseanne Barr. Because I grew up and I watched every episode of that. And your show, Roseanne, obviously, I just loved it. And I must have been like 7. So probably half the jokes went over my head, or like when I was 10. But it's a pleasure. So I wanted to just pop in. I'm going to leave in a sec. I just wanted to say hello, and I love you. And if you're ever in the UK, let me know, and we'll, I'd love to meet up. And I hope you guys have a great podcast today.
Well, I love both of you. I watch you all the time. I think I'm happy. Like I said, I'm happy to share cyberspace with both of you at this time.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm going to leave you guys to it. I'm going to push this red button. Have a great one.
Thanks. Take care. Thank you.
Yeah, I gotta shut this door because they're building some fucking house next to me or some shit. Hold on.
Yeah, go for it. So, Cathy, since we had you on the channel, you got an amazing reception. Have you got any updates for the viewers?
Oh, people have been so kind, and it's just a constant. I think every day is a new surprise of people waking up, taking the initiative to take action for themselves instead of waiting on big government to do it for them anymore. So that has certainly kept me busy, and I've waited a lifetime for this. So I'm really happy to be able to, help out every way I can to empower people to, take effective action and clean this mess up.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And Cathy Cathy's my idol, and my second to the oldest friend, almost 20 years. And I just want to thank Cathy before you start, for being the catalyst that opened the eyes of the world, even though it took 40 or 30 or 40 years. I don't know, Cathy, but Cathy is the catalyst that broke the matrix, and it's time she's given her due, and she's ready for it.
Oh, that's so sweet of you. That's just so sweet. Mark would be honored. He'd be so happy to see what's happening these days, and people finally, taking.
Can I say one more thing? Because you reminded me. Also to her husband, Mark Phillips, the most amazing human being I ever met besides Cathy in the world, the bravest, the whitest of the white hats. And we remember him, don't we, Cathy? He's never really gone. He's always hanging around. But what a man to do what he did.
Yeah, not only for me, but for everybody, because that information reverberates. It reverberates in PTSD Time to Heal. He couldn't release the information since he worked intelligence and was bound by laws of sedition. But it was my experience to heal with that information. So I released it. And PTSD Time to Heal. It's our birthright information, our healing information for our resiliency of body, mind, and spirit to overcome any trauma. And what's so cool is that that you wrote the back cover on it, and have been part of it all along because of the depth and the magnitude of our friendship and all that we've shared all these years, and that we shared with Mark too.
Roseanne, when you first heard Cathy talking about MK Ultra, what did you think? Because she was the tip of the spear going back into the 90s, was it, or the 80s?
Cathy, what year was it?
When we met?
No, when you first started talking about MK Ultra.
I was speaking out. I started in as fast as I could by 1990. I was already speaking out because Kelly had been thrust into the corrupt system, and I was speaking out on, trying to get help for her. But, people just didn't know a whole lot back then. They didn't know there was a swamp. They didn't know the system was corrupt. They didn't know what mind control was or child sex trafficking or anything else. So, you know, it just started exposing it with Mark back then. And then, of course, you and I met in Hollywood in 2008 at the Hollywood expose on the child sex trafficking going on there, and how to heal from MK Ultra mind control, what it was about. And you know, that was so fun meeting you then. And it was like, you know, this big cosmic convergence of my old friend that's my new friend. And you know, and at the same time, such a powerful moment we were sharing to be right there in the belly of the beast of Hollywood, bringing that information to light for the children's sake. That's amazing.
And with Dr. Lois Lee too, remember?
Yes. My gosh.
I learned about MK Ultra myself because I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. And so I saw it and I was like, I felt like stranger in a strange land because everything I saw, it was like Night of the Living Dead or the pod people or something. And I just knew that it wasn't, I knew it was off script. I knew it was off script for them to come on the news and tell people how to vote in America. I just would go, wait a minute, even as a young girl, and just to see how people were herded, how they were under thought control and herded. It always scared me. So plus I loved reading conspiracy things, always.
David Icke?
Yeah, I read or heard a lot of his speeches. At that time, there was a book called, I can't remember the name, but it was a Behold a Pale Horse.
Yeah, I've read that. Yeah, it's great. And Crossing the Rubicon.
Yeah.
That was powerful information coming out back then. And the speaking circuits Mark and I were on had David Icke and, you know, so many others who were really doing their best to get the information out back then. Of course, you were always doing your thing, and took a lot of retaliation, not only from Hollywood, you know, but politically and otherwise for, you know, exercising free speech and free thought. And, you know, you've just been amazing and such an example to us all that we can make a difference right where we are, no matter what our circumstances and how deep in the belly of the beast we are.
That's right.
Could you expand on that, Roseanne? You know, what was your wake-up moment and Cathy's influence on your thoughts about that?
Well, my wake-up moments came before I met Cathy, and it was working in Hollywood and having a show where, you know, I never had done that much being from Salt Lake City. I mean, I read a lot, but then I moved to Denver to become a comedian, and I was always a mom, you know. But then when I came to Hollywood, because I played a mom on TV, well, a lot of people thought of me as their mom. And especially there in Hollywood, a lot of kids would come to me and they would say, you know, we think of you as a mom. And then they would tell me things and, you know, of what they had suffered there in that city. And so I became involved with Dr. Lois Lee early in the 90s and rescuing children from pimps on Hollywood Boulevard and knowing what was happening to children there and why they were like being lured there with all these movies saying how great it was when it's a shithole. And understanding, well, because I'm also pretty religious and, well, I hate that word, but anyway, I always see the devil moving through things and how he's tricking us to turn on each other so he can win. So I was brought up an Orthodox Jew, so I always had that in my mind. And I always would see the fruits, you know, you can tell people by their fruits, and that these children on the street, and then when we learned who their perpetrators were, that blew my mind too, because they were judges, cops, agents, stars, I knew I couldn't ever be a part of it, so I wanted to fight it. And I did do a lot of work and stuff like that. But when I met Cathy, it was like Valhalla, because I'd already read her stuff, of course, for a long time, and thought about, oh my God, if she can make it through, we can all make it through, especially me. But then when I met her at a friend's house before we spoke, and saw how fun she was, and also we did was laugh and had fun. All we did, there was no, we had gone to another planet where there was no grief, no hurt, nothing. We were just like little girls having the best time of our lives. And it's amazing that we could do that, and that we did it immediately. And we had so much fun. We always have fun.
Yeah, real friends are like that. They seem to just know. And of course we had Mark there, and Dr. Ross, Dr. Colin
Dr. Ross, yeah.
Yeah,
Dr.
they were
Ross.
Yeah, Mark and Dr. Ross were working together on exposing MK Ultra and being able to help people heal from it and everything. So, that whole event, that was powerful.
And Dr. Ross was my psychiatrist that helped me to heal from having dissociative identity disorder. And so that's how it came together, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So how deep does the rock go in Hollywood then? Does it go full satanic, occult, ritual, esoteric practices?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any stories of that?
I just have the stories of survivors, but that's enough. I don't need to hear any more. I have the stories of children who survived. I have heard maybe thousands of them, and they're all the same. They're all the same. And so, you know that it's not a conspiracy, it's a network. And it just so happens they promote each other. They love to have power, because then they can get at kids, and they promote each other. And they are, everybody uses the word cabal. I wish they'd use another word, but that is what they are. They're a mafia. They're a mafia of sadists and child abusers. And that's how they get where they get, and that's how they stay where they are.
And is this the same network that is protecting the release of any Epstein information?
Well, I think that's theater. I don't know how you feel, Cathy. We've talked about it, but I think Trump's got something up his sleeve, and we're just watching it unfold, and we're seeing who was in power, in the Biden administration and the Obama administration, and had all that information that was, first put out in 2008, when, it was all revealed then in his first trial. And then we saw it all covered up under their administrations, and they never did one damn thing about it. And the Southern District of New York hid it all for them, because, they are that network of criminals. And, then as soon as Trump gets in, all of a sudden everything's about Trump being at Epstein Island and how Trump is censoring it and stuff like that. Well, if they had that information in 2020 and 2024, they would have won both elections. But I guess they decide not to do anything about this information they're leaking now. But I see it as Trump is making them beg for it, because that's how Trump is. They're going to beg for it, and then they're going to get it.
Cathy, do you have anything to add to that?
That's just well said. From my point of view, having been deep in the swamp among the perpetrators, who steal elections, use drug and human trafficking across open borders to fund their globalist agenda, who are using mind control on the global population to usher in their agenda. Having been around them, I can assure you these perpetrators don't trust each other either. So they hold each other by the blackmail, so to speak. They have all the blackmail videos compromising with the children. And so the child sex trafficking operations go quickly into the blackmail ops. I was used in them my whole life, and my earliest childhood at the Epstein Island of its time, Mackinac Island, Michigan. Well, all these videos were being kept. Then there were people who were compromised with, whether they were drugged or mind control or coerced or however the situation occurred where they ended up with the child and it was being filmed. And then those blackmail films were used to hold power over the anybody in positions of influence and power. So the blackmail vaults were at the Vatican, and then there was a huge one in Hollywood, right there in Hollywood, of course, and that Michael Dante had at the time. He was a soap opera star or whatever the heck he was supposed to have been. But ultimately, he was part of this global elite, these self-appointed, self-anointed leaders. He was part of their operation for the purposes of holding on to these blackmail tapes. And so Hollywood was just such an epicenter of it. It made sense that was one of the main places where all these blackmail videos were kept. Ultimately, we need to find out who's holding these vault. Why do they have this? Who are the puppet masters at the top blackmailing everybody for what purposes, rather than who's in the video? Because I know I was in a whole lot of those videos, and you got victims, you got victimizers, and you got people who are compromised that became whistleblowers. So there's a whole level of what's going on that just releasing files isn't going to help. So I'm looking at this administration thinking, this runs so deep, it could unravel the whole globalist agenda. It can take down the people at the very top. It can, do it all. And Mark always said, never play another man's game. So if we have the blackmail, we don't use it for blackmailing them. That's their game. We use it for leverage. There's information attached to that that's very powerful, potent, and important. And I am confident, based on the way I saw things work and what I knew Mark anticipated could unravel this slave society agenda, that I think they're using them for leverage in ways that I don't think we could even begin to guess or understand. What do you think?
I think it's interesting to watch what CEOs resign. That tells a lot. Who steps down, who even dies and is replaced. And that's going on by the minute worldwide. And I think that's all interrelated, because we know it is, they do want a one world government, and it's a very small group of people that want that. And they think they're smarter than the rest of us. They think they're more than human.
Yeah, I always say they are not like us, and they do not like us. They want us to be aligned with artificial intelligence, and that takes flat linear thinking, and instead of our depth of spirit, our wisdom, and our height. Mark always said wisdom outthinks their criminal minds every time, whether it's their criminal mind or their DARPA generated artificial intelligence plan they're following. We outthink it with our wisdom. It's our saving grace. It's why our humanity is under attack like it is, and why it's ultimately a spiritual warfare, because that's our victory, our humanity, the essence of who we are, our strength of spirit. That's our saving grace. We win. It's game over, and they know it. And the people need to know it. They need to remember that we got all the power. We forgot.
And you're transmitting that power right now, Cathy. Well said.
Right.
So how does the survivor community feel then about the way Maxwell was interviewed by the DOJ, and it looks like she's possibly getting shaped up for a pardon or a sentence reduction, and she just got moved to a prison from Florida into Texas as well, to minimum security in Texas.
She came to my town, huh?
Is that where you're based?
Yeah. Because Texas is very important. That's why I went down there, because I could see. But Cathy, what do you think? You go first.
Well, you know, I'd like to have seen Hillary taken down. You know, she was at the top of this. Madeleine Albright was. They were the ones over the Epstein Islands and the human trafficking ops running out of the Caribbean and everything. So, you know, we need to go a little higher up. And if she's going to bring them down, that would be interesting. But, you know, I think there's just so many pieces of this puzzle that we don't have. And when we're left to conjecture, we fill in the blanks with whatever is, you know, most prevalent in the media at the time. Release the tapes, you know, and I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what comes of all this, because I'm a bit skeptical on, no matter what does come of it, do we even have a justice system to prosecute these people through?
Bingo. That's part of what's being shown too. That's exactly what's being shown, this movie we're living in. And of course, I believe that everything we're seeing on media has already happened, and they put out their fake news and pretend it's happening right now. How would we know?
So Maxwell's new prison, it's FPC Bryant, located 100 miles from the Texas capital of Austin. How far is that from you, Roseanne?
That's about 150 miles from me.
So quite close then. Wow.
But you know, like I say, I don't know what Cathy, how you feel about this, Cathy, but I was interviewed on some guy's show on News Nation 1, or I can't remember anybody's name, something. And he said, what do you think that Trump is considering giving her a pardon? Of course, I got a boatload of shit for saying it, but I said, good. I think if she comes up with the names, the real names, then yeah, I think he should pardon her, and we should have a party, a worldwide party. If she tells us who's really in charge, who this benefits the most, who's at the lead of doing this, then she becomes a hero from a you know, whatever the word is, somebody we hate. She can become a hero. She can rejoin the human race. All she has to do is tell the truth and how far up it goes, and she knows it. She knows it. And I say it all the time, but everybody is so MK Ultra mind controlled, they can't fathom it. They can't fathom the truth, but if it comes from her, they may fathom it. What do you think of that, Cathy, where I say we should have a party and she should get pardoned?
Well, ultimately, this is probably going to go beyond the child sex trafficking, because they have been harvesting our children for so long. And
Cathy, I think
that's you know, that if we get to that part and we understand what they're doing with the genetics, you know, if we can get through
The stem cells
yeah,
too.
we get through that part, I think it's going to unravel this whole mess and make people realize that we share this planet with some very dark, negative, low vibration energy force people, you know. So there's a lot that needs to be known, and it's going to require the people to wake up. You know, when Mark and I would sit around and talk about what it would take to unravel this mess, it always came down to the same thing, that it's not going to make any difference if the people aren't awake and aware and evolve with knowledge. That's our defense against mind control, so that we can effectively protect children, the sanctity of free thought going forward. Then if it's just taking people out of positions of power and influence and blaming one person, that's going to create a vacuum. That's going to make, just fill it with more of the same, unless the people wake up to realize that it's up to us to start taking responsibility for our own lives, protecting our children going forward, and learn from what's unfolding in front of us right now. So it's a long way to go, and I don't really think that Maxwell, one way or the other, is going to make enough difference in that, unless it wakes more people up to what we need to protect ourselves from.
I think she has the ability to wake up the entire world. I really do. I think that really the future of the world, I'm just saying this is how I feel. I think that she holds the future of the world in her mouth and her brain and her tongue, and that she should speak the truth before she departs this realm, because she owes it.
Can she gather enough soul to convey the information? That's not anything I'm even trying to judge. I'm just raising the question. It's like, that's what it's going to take, is living a life's purpose for the magnitude of what needs to be done.
Well, I think Trump is really smart, and I think he can tell her, look, here's what you're going to do if you want me to do what you want me to do. You're going to do what I want you to do. I think that's what he's doing all over the world, and going, and by the way, I do hold all the cards. So yeah, I do think she will, because I think she doesn't want to be there in Texas. It's real hot.
Well, that's the outcome we're all praying for. And just for the viewers, we've got all of Cathy's links in the description box. We've got Roseanne's YouTube channel in the description box. Please support their important work. I've been watching your channel, Roseanne.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, recently you've been talking about the royal family, the British royal family's links to this network. Could you expand on that for my viewers, please?
Well, I do think that that's the big shocker, and anybody could research it. There's information available everywhere. I call them pharaohs because, first of all, they're all related. All the royals in the world are related, and all of the royals in the world do come from pharaohs, the pharaoh, the big one. And they think they're a particularly special bloodline that is more than human. And they are not like us. They are not like us. And I think they tried to monkey us, because that's just what people who do the kind of things that royals do. They try to monkey us so that they look human or act like human beings, but really, are they? I don't know. I don't know if people who have no empathy for whole nations and whole subcontinents, are they to turn them into fiefdoms and slave domains, which they've done forever. I don't know if they are exactly human. Maybe they are what they say they are, more than human, but when you reverse it and apply human ethics to it, it's kind of other than human. And it was Prince Andrew, that's the royal family, for God's sake. And he brought other royals down there to Epstein Island, and I think that was the thing they were really working on, because Epstein wasn't just a pimp. He was a great criminal mind. He reminds me of what's his name that started Las Vegas, that Jewish guy. I can't remember, but
Bugsy.
And the other guy too, Bugsy. And anyway,
Meyer Lansky.
Meyer Lansky was had a great criminal mind, and he knew how to make money out of nothing. And so did Epstein. But Epstein, what he really did, when you really get into it, he was involved in all these, legislative things on a really high level in every country. And what he worked on so much was to destroy the sovereignty of nations so that they could be turned into corporations that could be absorbed by all the banks he was working for. And that's way worse than, I mean, that's the death of, that's genocides of peoples. And so his pimping is pretty rough and hideous. But this guy, he wanted there to be no sovereign nations, no sovereign peoples on earth. And so do all of them. So do all of them. They hate anything other than corporate law. They hate tribal rights. They hate tribal law. They hate communities. They just want to manufacture, I think it is in their slaves, a bunch of MK Ultra child soldier assassins. And I think that's what they are and what they do and what they want. And they've probably been doing it forever too. Because I do think all royalty is built on child sacrifice. It can't be for anything else. How would they stay in power? But that one inspires fear in everybody, and you don't dare step out of line.
Did you see the video of Prince Philip saying if he was reincarnated, he'd like to come back as a virus, a bacteria, and kill the population?
Yeah, well, he already did.
Well, what do you think, Cathy, about the royal family's involvement in the network?
It wasn't as much my experience as other global leaders were, from Canada and Mexico, throughout the Caribbean, Saudi Arabia. My experience was different directions, but I just think what Roseanne, the way you just laid that out, girl, that was just brilliant. That was just that said a lot.
It's never changed. It's still slavery. It's still slavery with the chosen few at the top at the expense of many, which I want to say doesn't make me a commie or a socialist to say that.
What do you guys think about the death of Princess Diana?
Where are you getting these questions, boy? Where are you coming up with this shit?
I just shoot off my hip.
Oh, cool. Cathy, what do you think? You know stuff.
I don't know enough about that particular one, but because it raises questions, it needs to be looked at. It didn't seem right. We look at people in positions of power, like she was, and if she's not cooperating, anyone in this globalist agenda, if they're not cooperating, they're going to be eliminated one way or the other. If they can't be coerced and bought off and blackmailed and everything else, they're going to be eliminated another way. And then I think it's amazing how President Trump has even survived so far. But look at the character assassination that they've done on him. So the people already love Princess Di. They couldn't do a character assassination on her, and I think that that raises a lot of questions, because she sure came across as being soulful, kind, and genuinely compassionate and caring.
Yeah,
I wrote a piece once about her when I one time edited the New Yorker. We did a woman's issue, and I wrote a piece about her, that they were terrified of her, that when her son sat on the throne, that he would free the people of Ireland. And boy, the editor got pretty pissed. But yeah, she was too human, and she still had feelings.
Too human. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a theory that she was brought in to boost the DNA from the incestuous
Right.
royal interbreeding, and then, you know, she was discarded afterwards.
Yeah, because she was used so that her son, what's his name, that's going to be king after his dad croaks. What's his name, the older brother? Anyway, he's
You got William and Harry.
Yeah, William. Supposedly he carries the bloodline of all 13 of the ruling families of the world. So he's going to, you know, bring the one world government and the one world religion that's part of UN Agenda 30. And that religion is Chrislam. And you just saw the King of England bow to Islam as head of the Anglican Church. So it's well on its way to, we're well on our way to Agenda 30, UN Agenda 30, and nobody sees it. It's so sad.
Could you explain to the viewers what UN Agenda 30 means, please?
Well, it just means the one world government, track and trace, you know, track and trace technology. So, you know, they can identify your face in a crowd if you go to a freedom rally, and then you're going to go to the gulags. And, you know, it's like Soviet Nazism. That's what it is, with Islam thrown in there for women.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in this country right now are getting very distressed, and the tension is palpable because of the amount of illegal immigration that's come over here, and the government's putting them up in 5-star hotels, while war veterans and our local people are suffering and homeless and not getting any. Yeah.
Same here. Well, we're being Islamicized. That's what it is. Europe has fallen. I think the UK is pretty well done. But people are waking up there, so we don't know. But America's under heavy duty Muslim Brotherhood, MK Ultra. It's all the same thing. It's all like there's a special class of pure bloods that are going to rule everybody, and all we have to do is get rid of the Jews, and we're going to be great. Both sides. Which is, you know, Hitler and Stalin had a contest to see who could kill the most Jews. So nothing has changed. And power, royal power, always puts a Jew in the window to take the heat. So they hide behind that. And then when the people come and want to know where their money went, they throw the Jews to the hungry dogs in the street and hide behind it. And they hide all their treasures there in Switzerland, right next to CERN. So come on, people. This is the shattering of the matrix, the big one. The big one that we would accept that there is a certain bloodline that can own everything. Hello?
So what is the end game then with this just mass illegal immigration and diffusing the national identity of our countries here in Europe?
Well, I think that what they did was bring in rapists. That it isn't like, you know, mostly they brought in rape gangs, and, you know, that's how you take over. That's how every revolution works. They rape the women, they send the men to prison or send them away to fight their wars on another continent. And the goal is access to children.
Yeah, we've interviewed multiple survivors of what they call grooming gangs here. And there's this massive criminal apparatus that the government's refusing to even investigate. I mean, they brought in laws in America to come down on the mafia. They would think that they would do the same in this country if these girls' lives, sanity were a priority. But the government's just showing they absolutely do not care about these domestic young people. It's obscene.
Well, they had the prey. The women are prey. They had the prey and they offered them up as a sacrifice to, you know, the Satanists.
Well, trauma is the basis of mind control. And we've seen trauma after trauma, and now we've got the trauma brought to our streets through this influx of illegal immigration. I think there's more to it than just a merging of cultures to eradicate national sovereignty. I think that it's a whole lot of already programmed assassins, programmed, programmed violence that's being unleashed in our backyards to gain more control over the minds of the population. When you factor mind control into the equation, all of a sudden this plan starts making sense in that regard. It's like when you realize, when you look into that formula for mind control that was brought into the US through Project Paperclip in the wake of World War II, when we imported the Nazi and fascist scientists, that formula for mind control came right with them. And that formula is the same, whether it's of an individual, a nation, a classroom, a military, a church, or the world. And trauma is the basis of it. The other components are sleep, food, and water deprivation. Because if we're starving our brains of the necessary nutrients, our brains aren't firing properly. When we experience trauma, our brains don't fire properly. So ultimately, mind control is being used to shut down the neuron pathways in our brain, to make us, to dumb us down, make us more compliant, when in fact we need to open those neuron pathways and get them firing. So we need to get plenty of rest. We need to get nutritious food. People are working 9 to 5, 5 to 9 to put food on the table that has been genetically altered, bioengineered to starve their brains deliberately. The water has been tainted with the fluoride. All of this coming, from what had been done in Nazi Germany. So it's just continued, and it's built up more and more and more now. So we've got a lot of components to this that we've got to deal with. Realizing trauma is the basis of it. The whole global population had their brains starved. And then you add the genetic encoding into it. That is what Project Monarch is all about, is the genetic mind control. Then we understand why they're keeping the bloodlines going, why they're attacking generations, because our whole brain function is under attack. And if we don't have our free thought, we don't have our free will, soul expression, we can't gather the strength of the human spirit and stand up against them. So it's in that regard, it's a spiritual battle, but it's our brains that are under attack. And this importation of programmed violent people into our society is a very deliberate attempt to perpetuate mind control, even population, to reduce our numbers to a more manageable size. That's what George Bush said they were going to do. If they lost control over the minds of the people, they'd reduce our numbers to a more manageable size, and still using all that they have to be able to manipulate us. But people are waking up anyway, because the strength of the human spirit is there, and people are weary of this nonsense, and they're waking up. They're taking it back. But like Kelly was saying, my daughter Kelly was saying the other day, she said, yeah, the Great Awakening is happening now that people are awake. They got a long way to go to catch up with what in the world's happening, and they do.
Yeah. Once you open your brain, then you have to bear the information.
Yeah.
And we have to bear what we have allowed our governments to do in our name and with our money that we worked and pretty much sweat for. It's our fault.
Do you think this is building up to civil war then, and that will give the state more control?
Sometimes I think that. Sometimes I think that's all that could be done. But I think when they defunded U.S. aid and all these NGOs that were going to support terrorism and support the abuse of Arab children, but that's a whole other subject, because they got their petri dish. They had it in the United States, and then the UN and the owners of the world really figured out something really smart by locking people into Gaza and not letting them leave. they really go, oh, now we can really try some MK Ultra on these kids and their moms. And, you know, that's what they're doing. And they're trying to produce child assassins there. That's what the UN's whole thing is about. And they're also trying to gaslight the rest of us into thinking that it's something else, but it's something that they've always done. Mind control experiments on captive populations for hundreds of years, including the witch burnings. They've always done that. They have always done it, and they just perfected over the years. They perfected it. I mean, Hitler, he perfected it. Stalin perfected it, and then it went to the UN. And there's very little difference between the three.
I really think that civil war wouldn't solve the issue because it's a mind war, and all it would do is create more trauma to dumb us down further. So,
well, the first time Obama said, I think it was in 2013 to his cabal there, he said, well, if they come for me, you know what to do. And I can't remember the exact speech, but, you know, he's got troops on the ground and in the government and in the, you know, clerks everywhere that are his ops. And of course, he's the head of the Muslim Brotherhood, and along with Valerie Jarrett and Brennan, and all of that stuff just works towards the New World Order in the same way. You know, they're just coming from the Islamic way, but you know, it comes in every direction. But you know, I think that if anybody thinks they're going to get together and start some shit, I think they're thinking wrong, and I think they better look out, because I do think one of Trump's options is to declare martial law, and he already has the National Guard. He already made the National Guard be able to go to every state, which that wasn't legal before him. And I think they're sitting there waiting. So I think that if we say these things and people hear them and it clicks in their head and they see it, we can stop it. Because these poor kids, they're mentally ill, and they have been weaponized, and they're also being paid. They couldn't hold a lot of jobs because they're mentally disaffected, a lot of them from sexual abuse. And so their only job is to go and work as, you know, brown shirts for the Democrat Party and the globalists. And so I'm just saying what I'm saying, because I believe that when truth hits the ether, I believe one spark can set the whole woods on fire. And that's why I was happy to be here with y'all, and especially with Cathy, because Cathy and I intend to set the whole woods on fire globally.
And we salute you for that. So a lot of people in the chat are asking for your thoughts on transhumanism, and for example, Epstein's baby farm as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're all transhumanists. They think. I used to think they thought they were smarter than God, but now I think they are God.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely that and that's why, you know, when people say, well, they're Satan worshipers, and it's like, well, really, they think they're more powerful than that. So, you know, they worship themselves. They really do. It's just they're disgusting.
It's psychotic narcissism to the nth degree.
It is. And then you add the artificial intelligence aspect into it, you know, because I've been saying that all along, that these perpetrators follow a DARPA generated artificial intelligence plan, and it's linear. It's not, you know, it knows that we can outthink it with our wisdom. So, you know, that's why we're under this attack, and ultimately it's to give this artificial intelligence, transhumanism, a chance to proliferate. But it's not going to work because the people are waking up, and our wisdom outthinks their criminal minds and artificial intelligence every time. Mark and I talked at length about that, because back in the 80s, when I was at Bohemian Grove, George Bush was talking about artificial intelligence already being ahead of us, back then. So that, not that that makes it true, but it makes it, more plausible, because it really had reached that proportion. But it's only ahead of us if we allow that, with our, and let it erode our humanity and strength of spirit. So we've got the victory. I have no fear of artificial intelligence anymore than I do these criminals. I don't have fear, because I already know the victory. I know where the victory is, and it's just a matter of people waking up to remember who they are and why they're here right now at this moment in time. It's for a reason, and that's what make the difference.
Like I said to some guys, I was sneaking a cigarette, and they recognized me, and they wanted to know about what I thought of artificial intelligence. And I said, well, I think the most important thing to realize about it all is that it's artificial and we're the real deal.
Yeah.
So we don't have nothing to fear from fucking talking Barbie doll or whatever it is, because the one thing we have that it doesn't is it doesn't understand the strength of the human spirit. It doesn't understand the strength of the human heart. It does not understand the strength of human empathy for another living being. It don't get none of that. So hello, they ain't worth shit. And it won't do shit neither. I think the most important thing is that we all try to, I was thinking about this today, just think about each other for maybe even a minute a week, if that's all you can free your mind to do. It's just important that we stop and think about each other people who are like us and who want to fight. If we just stop and think about and try to connect to their energy, because human intelligence is a magnet. A lot of people don't know that. But if you get into real physics and stuff like that, it is a magnet that draws like to itself, or its opposite, but still it's a magnetizing force. And I hope people who want to see Babylon fall and burn, if you just think about the number of people out there who know that and want the same thing, and just try to magnetize yourself to their thoughts, their being, their energy, I think it grows it. And I think our task is to grow it like it was a seed,
I love that. Any level of mind control disrupts our free will soul expression. And when we lose soul expression, we lose our discernment of truth. We lose our compassion for each other, our ability to connect with each other. And when we have all that, we naturally connect in that space. And I love what you said about magnetism, because in so many ways it is. It's like when we have that, we have this frequency that our brains emit and connect with each other in the most beautiful ways. Like I'll be thinking of you and you call, that kind of thing happens to people all the time. And it's a great example of that kind of magnetism that if we give it a moment's thought and start exercising it, then we can, mentally even call out to each other. We can connect with each other. We get the collective conscious going. We can raise the vibration of the planet, and then it's a beautiful aspect of our humanity that we have been led astray from. And even churches demonize it, like, oh no, there's no such thing as telepathy. There's no such thing as intuition. There's no such thing as sensing vibration and frequency. There's there's no ability for there is too. We've got that in our brains. Our brains were made that way. Our brains were made so perfect. We have
Yes,
so much capacity. We have the
absolutely.
saving grace right there in our own brains, but we just forgot to access it all because we've been dumbed down by trauma after trauma after trauma. And then media's repetitive narrative, because that's the most basic form of mind control.
Yeah.
You know, that
That's
repetitive
the
narrative.
enemy of all the people. But I was going to say, the ability to feel love for other beings, that's a gift. And that's our weapon.
It's where we connect. You know, it's like when I was waking up from mind control and trying to, you know, love myself, because people told me that, and I couldn't love myself with what I'd done, and well, like, what? No daily affirmation in the world was pumping that in my head. It wasn't working. So I went inside and found myself at the base core energy of my being, and that energy is love. So I started living the love I am instead of trying to love myself. And all of a sudden, it's not an emotional thing anymore. And it's not just a thought. It's an energy. It's an essence of being. It's what connects us all. It's where we all interconnect. And it's the beauty of life. It's our ultimate strength. It's our victory. You know, their darkness can't creep in on our light. It's our victory.
And the memory, however dim, back in the mists, that we are divine.
Yes.
We are divine, and we have divine gifts.
When we align with that divine, we access.
We are divine. And they keep telling us religions are part of mind control. And they keep telling us to always look out there for what's divine. Look out there. Somebody's coming to help you, to save you. Look out there. Look out there. Never look within, because it is within. It's in our heart and our mind and our spirit and our body. We're divine beings.
And you've got a question from GL, Cathy, that ties into this. And that was beautiful what you said. So GL wants to know, what about meditation and mind control?
Meditation is like, I think what people do when they strive to align with their divine, it's like prayer. You know, when you're striving to align with that divine within. And for me, I experienced so much of that alignment. You know, even when I was tortured, my spirit was always in a safe, loving space. It was above the torture, that they couldn't torture my spirit. In other words, they could only torture my body, and, you know, like that. But my spirit was always in that safe, loving space. And because I had so many near-death experiences, that became like a freeway, you know, I mean, it's just this wide path for me. And when I was healing and realizing that, you know, wow, that's just the most beautiful saving grace of all humanity, that we have this ability. And it's like, to me, when I decided I would live the love I am, it was aligned with that divine. It was the acknowledgement of that. And so I never wanted to shut that off. Why would I? You know, so people say you must pray a lot, and it's like, well, my life is a prayer. It's more like I stay in that space and in that place. So in that regard, I don't meditate, because I'm already aligned with that, and I celebrate that every day. It's the positive of the negative of my past, and it's so exciting to know that this is what we've been all blessed with all along. And even the children, what they've been through with the trafficking and the tortures and the horrors they've been through, they too can heal, because we've always had that ability to align with the divine and reconnect with that and heal with that and be who we were always intended to be. What happens to us in life isn't who we are. Who we are is still within. And we can reclaim that because of this amazing saving grace. And if it takes meditation for people to realign with that, yeah, you know, whatever it takes. Ultimately, it's to go within and reconnect with the essence of who we are.
Would you say achieving that alignment saved your sanity, Cathy? And here's baby Ziggy wants to come and say hi.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Hi,
beautiful.
Say hi
Hi,
to Roseanne and
boy.
Cathy. Ziggy.
Hi. Hi, Ziggy.
Say hi.
What you doing? Are you a good
Say
boy?
hi.
You are
That's
a
Roseanne
good
and
boy.
Cathy.
Look at you. Look at
You're
you.
cute.
Say hi.
Aw.
He's a big one. He's almost 2 now, and he's in
Oh.
age 4 clothes already. He came out at 10 pounds and never stopped growing.
Oh, he's a big
Wow.
boy. You're a big, strong boy. Look at you, Ziggy.
The
What a
reason we
dog.
do what we do.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
Oh,
I
you've
do
also got a mess.
I do meditate, and I have for a long, long time. I learned it when I was pregnant with my son, who turns 30 in 3 days, my baby.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I had 6 eggs implanted, and 5 of them he ate. And then I would go and look at this machine where they'd show the fetus or whatever, zygote.
Oh
And
my God.
I would talk to it because I was learning to meditate, because I had to be on bed rest for 12 weeks to keep the pregnancy. And I go and talk to it and say,
Yeah.
I really want you to come here and, clasp on, grab on. And he did. And, meditation is, the greatest part of meditation is to go to where your mind is completely silent. It's a hard thing to learn, a hard thing to do. But when you get to the place where you are not victim of bombarding thoughts and foreign thoughts, it's a great electrical realignment for you. It's a good thing, no matter how you do it. I do it the Jewish way, but they all go to the same. All roads lead to wherever.
The divine.
And how much has that helped you, Roseanne?
Oh, it saved my life. It helped me when I was integrating my parts, when I was in therapy, to be able to integrate my various parts. Man, it's the greatest thing, and especially if you've been abused, if you have abuse in your background, it's a way to get out of it, to not be a victim of it anymore, and to get out of the bad patterns that it makes you do. Like, you're doing real good and then you screw up and mess everything up. Like, you're real sober for a while and then you go out and take every drug, and then you go into the self-hate spiral. All of that is just part of the trauma of abuse. So if you can get on top of it and get silent of it, you're free of it.
Would you say that because you were so famous, trauma came with that fame?
I was traumatized way earlier when I was young, because we had I grew up in an apartment house full of Holocaust survivors, and so I was born into trauma, and it divided me a lot. And then when I got to Hollywood, I just have to say, it's lucky I believed in God. I'm really lucky that I had that, because I had a foundation to be strong in, and I knew I was connected to it, and I knew I couldn't be destroyed because of it. Keep meticulous records of the experiments they do to their prey so they can perfect it. But we're seeing that in our country more and more and more. Oh my God, it's so bad. If people knew how bad it was here in America and what precipice we're standing over, and I just all the time go, you know, what more can I do? I wish I could do more, but I tried to do everything I can because I want no more children to be victims of this shit. It's over. I want it to go.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrifying. So I lived in Arizona for 16 years, 17 years, and I'd turn the TV on and it'd be like, feeling down? Call your doctor. And it was just non-stop big pharma commercials. And looking at the stats, America, they're like it's like the most medicated society in the world. And it definitely seems like there's a huge agenda there.
Well, the women are highly medicated. I mean, they really go for women, you know, you're depressed, whatever. Like I'm from Utah, and Utah has the highest number of women on antidepressives in the whole country. Well, of course, look at what you're living through. But people don't want you to look at your surroundings and try to do anything about it. They want, that's the one time they want you to go inside so you can blame yourself. The one time they want you to go inside is when, you know, there's too much shit going on out here that you do have some power to change and confront. They don't want you doing that. So they want you to go inside and go, oh, I'm depressed because I'm chemically off balance. But look what it does. I mean, you look at the women now, the young women, and I'm like, boy, these gals are just drugged to the max, that they're out there marching against their own best interests and their own freedom. And they think that's just the height of feminism. It's devilish, man.
Look what we're doing to the children. You know, they're indoctrinating them in the school system, teaching them what to think instead of how to think. The
Right.
kids are so bored, you know, and then they start medicating them for attention deficit disorder because they're too smart to buy into the dumbed down lies that are being pumped into their head, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a huge a huge circle and cycle game that isn't necessary when we start factoring mind control into the equation, how to open our neuron pathways, the importance of getting out in nature, getting sunlight in our eyes and feeling it on our skin. I mean, not just taking it for granted. I'm talking about feeling it on our skin. Take off your shoes, feel the earth beneath your feet, breathe in the air.
And one important thing, Cathy, I got to say too, this is really, really important and very simple. Look up. When you're outside, look up. All the time when we go outside, we're always looking down. But we need to look up because that triggers a chemical in our brain. It really, really does.
It does, yeah. It's so good. And then to take in the beauty of it all and the majesty, when we start doing that, we start realizing that there are miracles unfolding all around us.
Mhm.
Even when we look at nature and how animals interact and intercommunicate and everything, they can show us back to our senses again, how to get along with each other. There's so much to be learned from the simplest things. But if we're, you know, so,
I remember me and you sitting on your porch, and when we were going, let's try to play with this, and we were like sending the thoughts out into the sky and the universe and everything. And remember, we'd sit on the porch and like just send these thoughts out about healing and you know, people being above the fray, people being free. And remember, like all these birds, like remember then a hawk would come. And then we'd look up hawk in the Indian medicine book, and then all these birds would start coming in formations. Remember? And people, if people knew what their minds are capable of, and that's what we want to start talking about, is how to fly above it.
It's like bringing in the frequency. You know, that's ultimately what the animal medicine cards or the Cherokee lore is about that certain frequencies bring in, you know, certain vibrational animals. And man, I was sitting there on my couch in my son Adrian room, looking outside, and there were a million hummingbirds. They were everywhere, you know, and it was so beautiful. I was like, you know, just so astounded by it. But there's so many beautiful things around us all the time that we forget to even slow down and look at, because we're usually too busy, you know, twiddling our thumbs on our cell phones or something, you know.
But if we knew that we can call them to us,
yes,
that would be a great thing for people, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's what we do. Look at how many fox we bring around here. You've been here, and the raccoons, the deer, you know, everything, and it's just all about a peaceful vibration, and emitting that on purpose, seeing what happens
with focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember all the beautiful hummingbirds. There was a sanctuary in Tucson, and I just felt harmony with the hummingbirds. It was amazing. So we've got almost 2,500 people watching live right now. I've been hogging Cathy and Roseanne for an hour or so, and there's tons of questions have come in. Roseanne and Cathy, do you guys have time to answer some viewer questions?
Sure, I do. Do you, Cathy?
Perfect.
All right, thank you. So Popper wants to know if you think there are any artists in Hollywood who are not corrupt, who are trying to get the truth out.
Yeah, I do. I know a lot of them. Don't do it anymore because it's too hard. But I have known a lot, and right now, I think a lot of people are just laying low to see what's going to happen. But I suspect a great renaissance is coming in art.
And a few people are asking if you would include Mel Gibson in the activist category.
He's an activist, and a lot of things he says are a lot of conclusions he draws are pretty interesting, and I don't have any beef with it. But a lot of things he says, man, he's talking for something that I consider to be artificial intelligence. He speaks for a lot of artificial intelligence and man-made shit. But, you know, that's his right.
Cathy, can we trust any Hollywood artists, or are they all corrupt?
There's good and bad in everything. You know, I think that we need to factor mind control into the equation and realize it's a sliding scale from the kind of torturous, robotic MK Ultra mind control that I experienced to the kind of horrific manipulations Roseanne endured, to information control, because, you know, ultimately we all formulate our thoughts, our opinions, and our actions based on what we know. We need to know that knowledge base has been altered a long, long time. A lot of that information has been altered right there out of Hollywood to manipulate what information we are allowed to have. Though all these factors come into play. So
well, Hollywood is the CIA, and you know, more and more and more. And you know, once they do all these sales, you know, one company swallows another, and then there ends up to be 3 companies that control everything. I mean, that's not good. That isn't good when you've got, you know, that kind of stuff going on. There should be a lot of independent artists that are able to get their work out there in front of their fans.
They might now, especially the ones who have a lesser degree of manipulation, the ones who have been suppressed and repressed and kept out of the business, because there's a lot of talent that can't make it in the business, and they're starting to emerge, you know. Yeah. So we need to watch all that, but also to start factoring mind control into the equation, and stop following people just because the media tells us they're, you know, something bigger than the rest of us. It doesn't make it that way. You know, we all have something to bring to the table in this life, and we've all got a piece of the puzzle, and no one is more influential than another. We need to even apply that to politics and stop following leaders we didn't elect. We need to stop worshiping them like they're some kind of gods, because we need to be judging everything rather than being focused on judging people.
Well, I also think that there is a war on artists. There is a war on free speech, and there is a war on artists, you know, who say anything that rocks the boat or lifts people up. They hate it when you're an artist whose intention is to lift people up rather than to teach them to sneer at their quote unquote lessers. And so there is that war.
Those who teach people to think like you do, you know, you would know. You are the epitome of what's happened in that war. You know.
Well, I've been fighting. You know, I've been fighting since they fired me. Luckily I had a lot of free time, so I was very, you know, Cathy, that I thought I was not going to make it. And then I just heard it like I felt it was from, you know, the creator. He said, the only way for you to win is to fight harder, be louder, be more intense, and more vicious, or vicious isn't the word, but more whatever the word is. And so I did. And you, of course, rescued me out of that one.
How did you get to that point, Roseanne, where you thought you wasn't going to make it?
Oh, because it was just an onslaught. It was a daily onslaught after they fired me. And to get to the point where they fired me, all the gaslighting that went into that, and all the political machinations, because I was not towing the Democrat party line. And because I dared to show a family that had Trump haters and Hillary haters in it that both still loved each other. They hated that because that cut into their fundraising.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you know, being called a racist on all media after 30 years of being a civil rights fighter, that was the one. They knew that was my Achilles heel, and I thought I would die from it. And you know, of course, I had Cathy, and I had a couple other good friends. Unfortunately, they're dead, like Norm Macdonald and Bob Einstein. They were my best Hollywood friends, and they died during that time. But you know, I had a lot of people that helped get me out of it, because I felt like I just sunk into a black hole of, you know, but of course I still had my faith. And if I didn't have that, I don't know if I'd be here. I had my faith, and I had my friends and my family. Of course, my family were all libtards, and they were all like, you know, blaming me for it. I didn't fire myself. They go, what have you done, mother? I go, oh, I didn't fucking fire myself. But anyway, that's all the MK Ultra mind programming that they were under, and everyone in Hollywood is under it. There's no way not to be under it in Hollywood. You know, that's why they'll snap their finger at CAA, which I call, you know, CIAA. But, you know, they'll snap their fingers and get their biggest stars to come out there and, you know, do their PSAs about how great the vaccine is, or whatever the hell they want them to do, how great pedophilia is, whatever their next step is. Those are not thinking people. They're slaves. And I always pray to set the captives free, because that's what Judaism says you're supposed to pray for, to set the captives free. And I do pray that all the captives will be set free. And I also pray that all the evil people who have contributed to all the horror in the world, like GHISLAINE MAXWELL, that they realize that, hey, y'all can rejoin the human race anytime. All you got to do is tell the truth. So that's it, right?
Roseanne, with hindsight, do you credit going into that black hole with sowing the seeds for your introspection?
No, not really, because I was very introspective before I went back. They were begging me to come back, you know, and I was like, am I going to go back like Daniel into the lion's den? Because I knew what they were doing. They were trying to separate people. They were trying to bring back segregation, because that's a big Democrat. They love that. And they hate integration. They hate the races being together, because, boy, that's too much power for them to go against. And so they farm everybody into their little veal pens, I call it, human veal. But and I had to really meditate and think about that a lot, because I didn't want to go back there. I lived in Hawaii, and then I kind of, you know, got a message from the Creator that's like, you could do a lot of good. You could help stop the dividing. You could do something different, so why not do it? And I thought, well, you know, why not? I'm here. I can do it. And I did do it, and that enraged them. I remember when Trump called me after my show got 28 million views and was #1 overnight on the reboot. And Trump called me to congratulate me on the numbers, because, you know, he really likes ratings numbers and stuff, as does everyone who works in TV. But he called me to and he wanted to put it on the news, you know, that the president called me and said, congratulations on bringing America together, blah, blah, blah. Well, ABC refused to carry it on their news that the president of the United States called their #1 show, the star of their #1 show, to say congratulate. They refused that. And I had to go on CBS to talk about how great it felt that the president of the United States called me and said congratulations to me, you know, because I remember as a little girl, I never thought the president would be giving me a call. And I had to go on CBS to do it, because ABC was immediately ashamed that I gave them a #1 show, and that I didn't say Trump sucks.
And
so
my dad,
Target, and I knew what I was going into. I knew that I was going to stand alone. Like I say, I knew I was going in the lion's den, but the fact was I had a 5th guy there with me, you know, and that's it.
You know, it's so beautiful. You did it to unite people, and then they use the media to twist and smear and do the character assassination.
It was Media Matters. It was Media Matters that did it, and I just read the other day they're out of business.
to say that, you know,
You.
that you were racist when you were uniting people is just cruel. And it's no wonder it hurt you, because you were living such a deep, powerful purpose, and you were doing it bravely for us all. And then they assaulted you for the very thing that you stand against, and that you're the farthest thing from a racist I've ever known. You know, you're just so wise and pure and loving, and that was cruel what they did to you.
Yeah, but look what happened. You know,
I know.
I had God, you know, I was joking with God all the time. And I'm like, hey, look, they're every one of their fucking movies is shit and don't make no money. It's a big failure. And nobody went to their shitty fucking theme parks either. I got all these letters from, they forgot about Americans. They hate Americans. But I got all these letters from viewers going, you know what? We've saved up 5 years to be able to take our kids to Disneyland. After what Disney did to you, we're not going. And I got so many letters like that. And then I saw their theme parks fail. And I was just laughing my ass off going, that was a good one, God. He's the funniest comic on earth ever. And I always had a laugh over that, you know. I still do have a laugh over all these people that are so arrogant that they don't know, that makes them ignorant.
Viewers, thank you for all the questions coming in, but I've just got a message from my dad. He never imagined he'd see Roseanne on his son's channel. So Derek Atwood, say hi to Roseanne from your mum and me. We watched every episode and loved it.
Sweet. Thank you. Well, your son, you did a good job with your son. He finally straightened his ass out. And now
Thank
he's
a few people a few people have picked up on what you said about the CIA and Hollywood earlier, Roseanne.
Yeah.
Was that something you learned firsthand, that the CIA intelligence, they vet things and they approve things and they influence things in Hollywood?
Well, I saw it with my own eyes being on a network broadcaster. I saw what the people would come down and say, we would prefer that you said it this way. And, you know, we would prefer that you would change. We would prefer the network and, you know, the network, when they say that, that means the stockholders and the sponsors that they think they speak for. And of course, I don't think they really talk to any of them, but, you know, because they're icky and they're sweaty and dirty and they work. Ew. So, you know, they would always come down with a request for me to change an idea, a line, a joke. But, you know, luckily comedy is such that if you get a big laugh, nobody's going to come in and say, you can't get a big laugh. They couldn't do it. Well, it got a big laugh, and laughs are good for our money and our sponsors and making people happy. After a while, I guess it was about after the first season of the original Roseanne, or I go, you know what? And I had been #1 for a while, so I did have some cachet or what have you. I go, you know what? All network people are banned from my set. You're not to come here till the run through. Your opinions and your you know, your 2 cents, I don't give a shit. You're not involved. And if you don't like it, cut it out. And they never did cut nothing out. They never did. But I think coming back, they thought, well, she's older and she seems nice. And I was nice. That's the bad thing. And I really did get along with everyone. But they would do these tricky mind control things to me in the reboot. And looking back now, I see, oh, I was just being groomed. I had no place there. After I gave them the only #1 show they had in 50 years besides my other one, they had to get rid of me because I'm just too sexy. I am just too damn sexy for them. That's the truth. It is the truth.
You've got a question from Anna, and Keir Starmer over here just announced a £60 million program to put materials in the sky to block the sun. And Anna wants to know, Bill Gates is trying to block the sun, supposedly. What do you guys think about this sun blocking stuff?
Well, when I was farming in Hawaii, they used to come over there and spray all their shit all over the skies. They're saying it was aluminum and it was going to bounce back and keep the sun from blah, blah. You know, I could go a million directions. They have no right to do that, and it don't help nothing. They're aluminum shit. Don't people get Alzheimer's from aluminum and they're spraying it in the skies? We're just prey. We are just prey for their experiments, which they either make into drugs or some other shit. It's all about that too. I mean, you know how they said military industrial complex? Well, it's military prison pharma industrial complex. So that's all it is. And the rest of us, we're just troublemakers. We want answers, and we're dirty and sweaty, and we work, and we want answers, and they have no need. They have no time for that.
We need sunshine. Our food needs sunshine. Our animals need sunshine. It's essential. And to block it is insane. And just one more example of the arrogance of these unelected, self-appointed, self-anointed global leaders. You know, that they need to be stopped. People need to realize that we share this planet with people who are just way out of bounds with their manipulation of our lives, our minds, our food, you know, our planet, and and stop them. You know, there's more of us than them. They're just a handful. They need to be stopped. We need to see some justice. We need to realize the reason why they're doing it is to ultimately control us all. And it also, because of what Bush said, that if they lose control over us, they need to reduce our numbers to a much more manageable size. So it's all about the population control and controlling the population.
It is
Yeah,
definitely.
I did 2 hours with David Icke yesterday, viewers. It's coming out in about a week or so. And he spoke a lot about Musk, the tech leaders, AI, transhumanism. And the viewer question for you guys is from Vasa. What are your thoughts on Elon Musk and the tech leaders?
I don't know enough about Elon Musk, and I don't know that is the crux of things as much as the artificial intelligence is. You know, we need to understand that that's been around a long time and it's been advanced for a long time, and we need to separate ourselves from it in order to preserve our humanity. So, you know, regardless of who's behind what, it's the agenda that we need to become aware of and see really what is for the benefit of humanity and what is towards the destruction of humanity. What's going to empower our saving grace of the strength of the human spirit, and what's going to diminish it. You know, we need to start examining the issue instead of looking at one person, because it doesn't solve the problem to judge a person.
Well, I think Elon Musk, from what I've been told, this isn't firsthand, but from what I've been told by people that I speak to, is that he was raised in a satanic ritual abuse cult. And so he's very damaged and hasn't completely healed. But he is like a technical genius, or at least he knows how to put together a team of technical geniuses. I was looking at the stuff where they were putting you know, the neural link into somebody who was paralyzed and how they could move their feet now. So I think that, you know, it has great benefits if it's used wisely. But then you think about, is there anything that's ever been invented that's been used wisely? No, not really. But maybe if people change, maybe if our consciousness really does grow and change, maybe we would be able to find a way to keep the worst people away from the button. That'd be a good thing. If we could only get there, that would be a great first step.
I think that's happening, you know, with this evolutionary times that we're living. You know, when we evolve with a knowledge that's our defense against mind control, it becomes a spiritual evolution, and that's going to give us the strength to be able to make some wise decisions for once and maintain it. You know, it's not just a momentary thing. It's got to be an evolutionary step. Right. That takes us forward. I think we're moving into
not to turn it over to anyone, but to keep it ourselves.
Right.
The people.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So Simply Solo's question is, what are the necklaces behind Roseanne? Do they symbolize something?
No, they symbolize that I went crazy and I bought all this jewelry. I bought all these most of these things are 30 years old or more that I bought when I first got paid. And I just made it there to remind me of that. You know, I remember, well, this one over there, I bought the first time I headlined in Las Vegas. I bought some jewelry there. So they all have that sentimental thing to
them. So Oliver's mom, what can the average person do to combat all this besides keeping their eyes open and our own house clean? I know you've answered that. You've said you've given a lot of advice, Cathy. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Oh my gosh, everyone, everywhere can apply the simple methods Mark taught me in PTSD Time to Heal to themselves, because they're a reminder of our birthright to live our life's purpose. It allows us to align with the divine, and it's posted on my website. Everybody can have it. It's to pay what you can if you can, so everybody can have it regardless of income, and start applying it. It's simple. It's easy to self-apply because it's natural, like writing out trauma, writing out fear, writing out grief, writing out guilt, write out anything that's immobilizing you, and do it with a pen and paper, because when you move a pen, it activates the critical analysis logic part of the brain. It shifts those immobilizing fears over to logic, where it's written out on paper, consciously seen, and all of a sudden you got an access to your brain. You're opening the neuron pathways in your brain. As you do it, add a solution, because that's going to lift you out of that dark pit and give you a clear view forward, like rising above the storm. And so I encourage everyone, just pick up a pen and paper and start writing out your fear and trauma. Shut off your devices. Get away from that for a while. Pick up that pen and paper. Do it the old-fashioned way, because that is what opens neuron pathways in the brain. Mind control shuts them down. We need to open them up. Typing does not do the same thing. It's not going to open them the way picking up a simple pen and paper does. Draw. I don't care. You pick up a crayon, draw. That does the same thing. Activate your brain, and then get out in nature and, and breathe in the air. All these things can help us to reclaim our humanity once and for all.
And also, I'll add, try to grow something, even tomato.
Yeah.
That really does something to your brain and soul too.
Yeah, I think baby Ziggy is restoring my brain and soul, because just going in the park with him, walking around and just looking at his smile, it just brings you away from all of the Matrix stuff.
Yeah.
Right. All children do that. That's why they're the ultimate prey, because they are connected to the divine more than those of us who've been beat up and stepped on along the way. They have what we crave. They have naturally what we want and what we crave. And just to behold them is not only awe-inspiring, it's hilarious. The stuff they do is hilarious. Laughing is great. Laugh as much as you can.
Yeah, Ziggy doesn't give a F about anything. It's fantastic. He just power walks down the street, and everybody better get the hell out of his way or else. So you got a question from Shandy, and that is, what do you think about Trump suing Rupert Murdoch?
I think that's great. I just think Trump should sue everybody. Murdoch, he should be sued for sure. I did sue Rupert Murdoch and won, although I'm not supposed to talk about it. I did.
Wow.
I sued his tabloids.
I think Rupert Murdoch needs to be sued. Do you remember when Outfoxed came out? I mean, back in the DVD days, when before internet and people send it through the mail, Outfoxed talking about how, they were manipulating the minds of the population, and Rupert Murdoch was just 100% behind all that and needed to be brought down back then. So if someone is suing now, maybe it's going to send a message that people don't want to be manipulated by media anymore.
No, they just would love the facts. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We would love to hear the truth, and we deserve to hear the truth.
Yeah.
And so stop trying to keep that from us. But the more they try to keep it from us right now, the more they expose themselves as liars, and that's fun to watch.
And then look at you two right here, right now. Sean, what you do in bringing truth to light. Roseanne, you've been bringing it to light for so long. And then with your podcast, that's what's making the difference in the world and putting these guys to shame anyway. The controlled media is losing their power because the people are gravitating to truth. They're gravitating to, those like you instead of the Rupert Murdochs. It's a new day.
Yeah, they've outdone themselves.
Yeah, they have.
It's a bloody minefield. I've lost my channel twice, but since Trump got in, we have been able to say more on certain subjects. So thank you
Yeah.
for doing that, YouTube. So we got a question from Jane. Roseanne, you were the biggest thing in the 80s. Did Ellen debut on your show?
Yeah, she did debut on there. She's one of many who debuted on there. Yep.
Viewers, we've got 10 minutes of the hour, so please get your final questions in now. And don't forget to support
You know
Cathy.
who else debuted on there is oh no, now I can't remember. Leonardo DiCaprio.
No way.
Yeah, way.
Wow. Yeah, I used to visit my aunt in Arizona in the 80s, and your show was just, yeah, it was the thing to watch. Definitely, it was massive.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had 44 million viewers per week before they
Oh my
had all
God.
the cable stuff, so people had more of a choice of what to watch. But yeah, we had like between 38 and 44 million viewers a week.
Good grief.
Pretty amazing.
Before the internet and everything else.
No, the first time before cable came in,
Yeah.
you know, there was only like 3 or 4 channels people could watch. So, but our viewers, we had a huge, I mean, all television shows had huge audiences then.
My TV was so controlled under MK Ultra mind control, and then when I didn't see your show, and then I was big time in my healing process, and I still didn't see your show, and then we met and we became friends, and you handed me the whole collection, you know. So then there's people like me who are still just, you know, the slow getting on board with it. And there's a lot of us, you know, that I have watched it so many times, watching the full series and just loving every minute of it, you know. So there's the reverberations going on and on and on for those of us who were asleep during those days are, you know, waking up to embrace the magnitude of what you accomplished with your show now.
Well, I was happy to do it, I'll tell you. And I was able to buy quite a few necklaces. So it all.
So Nikki wants to know, were Meghan and Harry right to step away from the royal family? Anyone?
I guess. I feel sorry for Harry. I think he's a victim of mind control. And I think, you know, I don't like her so much. I think she manipulates him, and I just feel sorry for him. Poor guy, he lost his mom at such an early age, and I can see why he feels the way he feels, but he needs to get Cathy's book, Time Courage to, what's it called? Time to Heal?
PTSD, Time to Heal. Yeah.
PTSD, Time to Heal. Harry, go get that book. Don't let the bitch see you reading it. You'll probably have to go downstairs and hide in a closet, but do so.
Harry, if you're watching, the links for Cathy's book are in the live chat right now and in the description box. And Cathy, do you have any thoughts? Do you think Harry was MK Ultra'd?
If he was, then it's good he's away from the family entirely, because sometimes you gotta break away from your abuse base in order to heal. It's really important.
But what if you go? What if a lot of times when you run away from your abuse base, you get with a complete narcissist who cares nothing about you, right?
It depends if you heal first and before you get into other relationships, you know. And it's like when Mark lifted me out of the swamp, and, you know, man, he was so handsome. I was safe. He was everything, you know. I was like, he was, whoa. And he wouldn't have anything to do with me until I healed. He said, because you got to have something, you have to know who you are in order to have something to give in a relationship. And not only was it important for me to heal first, to be 100% in who I am, but it's also important so that I didn't have crossovers of memory tangling with him, or taking out my past on him. You know, it's really important to separate, and that's so wise what he did. And I encourage everyone, you know, be whole in yourself first before you get into any relationship, so that you don't take your baggage in on the one that you love.
Yeah.
Mystic wants to know, will Roseanne have Audra Lynn back on? The interview was fascinating and fantastic.
Yeah, we're going to do a part 2. I just love her. She's great.
Katie Cat, Roseanne, what was your first show debut on TV?
It was The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. That was in 1986. I did 5 minutes of comedy on his show, which was a dream of every comic at the time. It was the way to go.
For Roseanne, do you rate the Talmud? And if so, which parts?
Well, the Talmud is something like 32 volumes. So, no, I haven't read the whole thing. But, you know, I've read choice snippets from it that, you know, say a lot of good things. And other snippets are ridiculous. But you have to remember the context in which it was written, which was in exile. And, you know, these guys, it's a conversation between a bunch of rabbis, and they're talking about law. And people excerpt things and think they know what they're talking about, but they don't. They don't know what they're talking about at all. They were, you know, discussing law. Like if we're going to sit here and discuss a Bible passage and we say, well, what if that meant there were beings from other planets? You know, people will go, well, that's an interesting way of looking at it. But it isn't law. It is people deciphering and arguing law. So, of course, there's a bunch of idiots in there. There's a bunch of people that say really weird shit. But it's not what it's being portrayed to be at all. There's some really good stuff in there. One of the good things in there says this, treat your neighbor as you would want to be treated. That's in there. So, you know, it just depends on the glasses you're going to wear and what you're looking for. And yeah, I have to understand too that a lot of the times when they're discussing law, they're very dark, because Jews love dark humor. One of the funniest parts of the things I've read in there it's really black humor about, well, what if this? Well, then it's a lot of what if and then. And some of it's hilarious and dark as hell. But that's what happens when you sit around and discuss scripture.
So Hiram wants to know if you guys are fans of Joe Rogan or whether you think he's sold out.
Oh boy.
Cathy, what do you want to go first?
I haven't been on. I have no association with him, so I don't know.
I've questioned him personally about things he's showed and things he says and puts on there. And I've also questioned Pierce, who I called Pierced. I've also questioned Pierced in his choice of subject matter too. So believe me, I call everybody. I tell them just what I think. And you know, because I'm an old nosy Jewish woman, that's my right. And so I must do so. When I see something immoral in one of my friends or somebody who's asking me for my time, I either ignore it or I confront it. Because if it's worth my time, then I'll confront it. If it's not worth my time, I'll ignore it. But at a certain point, I probably have to say something about everything, because why not? I'm that sexy. I have to pick my tooth now.
Sorry, this is the last question. We're almost at the hour. So do you guys think that the outcome of the Diddy case revealed anything about the network, or there was a Comey cover-up?
It goes right back to what I was saying about the Epstein tapes too. You know, I mean, and the Epstein logs. We've got to start factoring mind control into the equation. Realize that that the victims, the victimizers, and people compromised, whistleblowers. There's all kinds of factors to be considered instead of one blanket snap judgment. And hopefully, ultimately, people are going to expand their thinking to start wrapping their mind around mind control and factoring it into the equation.
Well, I was always saying, since the whole Diddy arrest thing, I was like, oh, of course, the only guy that's going to go down for it is a black guy. That was my opinion then. And, you know, they're all friggin' monsters, but they seem to either blame Jews or black people, neither of which is in that tippy top pyramid part. So I think he's a monster, but I just feel sorry for all the victims, because that was another slap in the face to all the victims. Like, oh, well,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And I also knew that CPS was trafficking children from Chicago and other cities and bringing them to Diddy parties, because people in CPS are getting paid too. They're all on the dime of, the monsters. I call them vampires, but that went nowhere. It seems like anything that has to do with justice for the victims goes nowhere. And the justice system, all it does is protect the guilty. And we'll have to change that.
But awareness is the first step towards positive change. So at least people finally became aware that there are blackmail tapes. That's I guess that could be a positive from it, because they've been making them my whole life. I know I was in them back in those big giant reels, back in those days. So, it's at least people are gaining some awareness, but we've got a good ways to go before we can be making any judgment.
Here's some good advice. Don't never go to any party and stay past 9 p.m. Don't ever go to any party and stay past 9 p.m. The end. That's the deal. Especially if they're famous or powerful or glamorous. Do not stay past 9 p.m.
So you've just got absolute love and respect in the chat all night, Cathy and Roseanne. And Deanne has just said this is one of the best interviews of all time. Huge thank you, guys, for being so generous with your time. Is there anything you'd like to say in conclusion?
I'd like to say, me and Cathy, we wants to take our show on the road. We want to get out there and work with, other with organizations that care about children who are victims and in their healing process. We are trying to work on that across the country with a number of other women and men, but moms and stuff. And so that we can educate people as to what's really going on and set the captives free. I don't know. You say something, Cathy.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, ultimately, we've been working towards that for a long time, raising awareness for the children's sake. This has got to stop. The kind of nonsense that we experienced, no one should. And our humanity is under attack. It's time people face that reality and remember who they are, why they're here, arm themselves with the knowledge that's our defense against mind control, and effectively protect the children going forward.
Wow. I mean, you guys are powerful speakers in your own right, but combined, the power is multiplied, guys. And
you ought to see us honored when we're drinking and smoking. We're real good.
You think this is water? You think this is water? It's Russian vodka. So
we're really calling it down when we're doing that, huh, Cathy?
I'm going to let you guys go and close the show. Huge thank you for coming on. Much love from the UK. Thank you, guys. Good night.
Thank you.
Cheers.
See ya.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Viewers, that was phenomenal. Please support our guests. Click on the links in the description box. Don't go anywhere yet, though. I'm going to show you the trailer for our interview with Epstein's brother. Yes, we've just interviewed Epstein's brother. It's coming out in the next couple of days, and it's going to be mind-blowing. So here is the trailer, and Ron has just put it together this afternoon. Get some of this, folks.
Crime. Yes.
I'm Mark Epstein, and I'm Jeffrey's. Yeah, I'm Mark Epstein. I'm Jeffrey's brother. As a matter of fact, he had a hearing coming up, for to appeal the bail decision. And that was coming, and it would have been the largest bail in the United States history. So no one thinks he would have taken himself out. They both came out of the autopsy saying that they couldn't call it because it looked too much like a homicide. And interestingly enough, that never appears anywhere, even in the Justice Department report. On the initial death certificate we got, the cause of death said pending further study, but they won't investigate it, or have not yet investigated it as a homicide, because if they did, there was a lot of questions they should have been asking. They would have interviewed everybody else on the tier. Bill Barr came out early on and said that he saw that nobody went in or out of the tier, and that convinced them of just. And now with this recent release of the video, you can see that you can't see the tier door. And people can get to that tier door without being caught on that camera. So what was he referring to? He should not have been moved until the medical examiner got there and investigated the crime scene. So by moving his body, they messed up the crime scene, to make it harder to see that it was actually a homicide. People who have investigated, nothing to do with me. These are not people who are working for me. These are independent investigators who are very, high tech with video stuff. I don't even know how to do that. When they looked at the metadata, which is the information buried in the video, they see that it was edited a number of times. So it just adds to the bull. Let me put it that way. Nicholas Taglioni did rough him up when they were cellmates. He told his lawyer that if you picture somebody hanging, that ligature mark should be way up under his chin and go up behind his ears. It doesn't. Well, it's who are they protecting? Is the question. And it's whoever had Jeffrey killed. The question should no longer be, did Jeffrey Epstein commit suicide or was he killed? The question now should be, who had him killed? That's what they should be looking for.
Absolutely phenomenal video editing by Ron. The interview with Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, coming in the next couple of days. We've got 2 hours of David Icke filmed yesterday coming in about a week. And we've got Prince Andrew's ex-Royal Protection Officer pre-record coming in within about a week. And he's talking about Ghislaine Maxwell coming in off the books. Romantic picnics with Prince Andrew that Ghislaine had, and that they were lovers. So tons more content coming out, folks. Stay tuned. We will be back soon. Thank you for all of your questions tonight. It's been a great vibe.